Revelation class, 1 John, 2nd, 3rd John, also, which is, we haven't gone there. Wow. So I'd like you to read Revelation chapter 17 and 18 and do that during this class. So look at Revelation 17. Let me help you with something. Revelation chapter 17. We have the harlot, and we have mystery Babylon, mystery. So this is important. Mystery, harlot, these two words. Now, in Revelation 18, you have another principle, and that is the beast. And we have the beast has a relationship with the harlot. Now, this is what I want to show you. If I take two pillars like this, just to draw it as a sketch, kind of, two pillars, and then you put a roof over it like this, and a platform, okay, and some kind of you get the idea, okay. These two pillars uphold the roof, okay? And in Islam, to use this as an illustration, thank you, Lord, for this class, and bless the students in your name, we pray. Amen. We have, in religion, sometimes the politics, I'll put here, politics uses religion. And they feed each other. So in Islam, you have the mullah, and then you have the mullahs and the politicians. In Iran, this is in Iran. So the political, the system in Iran is religion and politics. They go together, and they support each other. Same in Europe with the Catholic Church back in the, through the centuries. There had been times when the Pope and politics, they go together. Holy Roman Emperor, that phrase, holy, what does the word holy mean? Okay, it's Holy Roman Emperor. It's a blending of religion and politics. It's a combination of the two. So you can see in history that many times the politicians are using religion to reinforce themselves. Oh, thanks, Pastor. Okay, so that's the idea. If you read Revelation 17, you have false religion. Okay, this is, you read it. I want you to read these. I want you to read chapter 17, and then we'll take it from there. So, again, I want you to see that the woman, this is a woman, a harlot. Why do they use the word harlot? But because in the Bible, harlotry is used for idolatry and departing from truth. It's like when a woman can be with many men in a sexual relationship, like you can't trust that woman. That woman is not somebody you can really trust. So in world religion, there is the willingness to compromise, and not truth, but instead compromise. And and she represents the fact that she can um, uh, use religion and be religious, but actually it's like it misses the essential element of what it means to be faithful and true. Like she is not faithful and true. So another one is if you love 1 John 2:15, if you love the world, the love of the Father is not in you. And so this is what she's representing. So she's riding the beast. It's like there's a link between her and the beast. The beast is politics. This is the Antichrist system, and described by 10 horns and 7 heads. Okay, and then he, the beast, or it, the system and the person. So it's a person and the system. It's the government and the person at the head of the government is the Antichrist. And then he hates the harlot. He hates the harlot. So now he turns against her. And she's not any more useful to him. In history, you have religion can be used by politicians for their own purpose, and then the politicians can turn on the religion and kill the leaders and say, we don't need you anymore, You are like a throwaway. So that's in 1818, the end of 17, he hates her, and then this is the collapse of the economy. This is the collapse of the world economy, and based on Babylon, the city. Now, Babylon is a Bible teachers believe that this is a rebuilt city in the Middle East. Sometimes, like when I was in Bible college or through the years, I've heard, Babylon is New York City, or Babylon is the Rome, Italy, because of sitting on 7 hills. Or no, maybe they would say, yeah, different ideas on it, but it doesn't matter what they have said. Only that most people or Bible commentators that I read, they believe that it is actually like a city in the Middle East that is in the old area where Babylon used to be, which was destroyed. That's Isaiah 13. Yeah, Babylon is fallen. But is it rebuilt in Iraq, that area, Euphrates River? Is it rebuilt? And then is it very rich? And then it gives a descriptive of the fine things that are in it. And we can read that too. So I hope these few comments help you, be oriented to what you're reading. Okay? So take a few minutes and read chapter 17. Are we good? Okay, I read here a paragraph. Babylon is a literal city. Babylon is a city of worldwide importance and influence, probably the capital city of the Antichrist. Revelation 17, 15, and 18. Babylon and the beast are very closely connected with one another. The woman is pictured riding on the beast. Babylon is the center of false religion. Revelation 17, verses 4 and 5. So you see there, she's also very rich. Where else do you read? The church is rich in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, in Laodicea. But this is not the church. This is not believers. These are religious people that have, that's a good question. Like, are they some kind of Christian, Muslim combination, philosophy, religion? Because people have religious lust in their sin nature. Yeah, and religion is part of life. Like Cain killed his brother Abel, and Cain offered sacrifices, So he had a religion, but not the true one. So you have New Age, Islam, Orthodox Christians that are not born again. So born again people are not here during this time because they've been raptured. But that being said, religion is a great tool for power, and so they can use it to control people or influence people. It's part of the system. So chapter 17 is important. Look at what verses, what do you have questions about regarding this because of our time? I mean, if we go verse by verse, we're going to not have time to cover everything we want to. So if you just see the beast that you saw was and is not and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, verse 8. So, and go into perdition, and they that dwell in the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life. So, there are people unsaved, their names are not in the book of life, and they see this beast come up out of the bottomless pit. Well, that is Satan. But then he's going to be connected with a man who was and is not. Yet he's going to come. He's going to be there. That's 13. We don't know what it means exactly, but that he had appeared to be like out of the picture, but then he comes back into the picture. He's back in. Is it because he was more mortally wounded? Remember in Revelation 13, verse 3, I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death. His deadly wound was healed, and the world wondered after the beast. So there's like some kind of miracle, there's some kind of wonder that happens regarding the Antichrist. And this is written also in 2 Thessalonians 2 about the Antichrist and also the false prophet who is doing miracles in connection with him. Then look at verse... the unity of the government, let's say verse go to verse 11. You have 7 kings in verse 10 and are fallen. There's 7 kings, and one is, and the other is not yet come. So it looks like these are like world-class leaders that have been. They have been. So one of the books that I read on this was that the erase this. This is he's now talking about, Egyptian. There's Egyptian, Babylonian, the Persian, Greek, Roman. Let's see, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then there is one that is, and I put here Diocletian, is it? He's the emperor at the time of John. And then there is one coming. This is the Antichrist. So that's one way of understanding this, right? 5, did I get it right or did I miss one? Verse 7, he is the 8th. Yeah, I missed one. So let me find it where I was reading here. Sorry about this. No, I'd have to. That's a problem when I'm teaching, and if I don't have it really right in front of me, I'm doing it, and then I have to confirm it. Then I have to go which book did I read it in, even. So I don't really want to do this now. I can tell you that if you go to Revelation 17 and you have the definition, verse 10, there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, 1 is, the other is not yet come. I did get it right. Okay, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th and is of the 7 and goes into perdition. Okay, so if you want that clarified, then you just have to do the work on it, okay? Because I can't do it right now. We don't have the time to go into this in that kind of detail. There are answers for you, like study it better than I have, like learn it better than I have, okay? All right, so the point is that he hates her now. This is verse 15. Is it? Verse 16 is hate, yeah. So 15 and 16. He said unto me, the waters which you saw where the horse sits are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So it seems like there's some kind of mystery, like religion, that has unified like all the peoples of the world. Like she is sitting on all the waters that are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. Verse 16, and the 10 horns which you saw upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. So now he is changed, that he hates her. And so, that's it. He has nothing to do with her anymore. He has come to the place of power, and he actually used her. And she wanted this relationship. But it's a good example of love, that of how that without God's love, how easy relationships, they are. We use them for our own advantage, and when we're done, I don't love you anymore, I hate you, or it's over, it's like Ammon raping his sister, half sister, and that he had this love for her. This is a lust, and then after he raped her, he hated her. And that I wonder sometimes when rapists, when they rape, then they murder. They murder the woman, you know. That's like a horrible thing, but you wonder why is that? Is it the hatred, the lust, and then the hatred? So now this is happening this way in the world, and already the world is falling apart. We have read about amazing judgments happening in the world, and it's amazing that there's even any government at all. But there is, you know. And he's like, there's a direction, and the devil is behind it. But it's kind of like, you know, Hitler in Germany, when he traveled on the train, I mean, they would even cover the windows. So when Hitler traveled on the train, he wouldn't see the devastation of the cities and the devastation in Germany, like he was living in a deception and a lie. And even if he saw it, you know, I don't know what it would mean to him. But this is like the devil riding to destroy, but he knows he has a short time, but he wants to get as far as he can, and he's wanting to kill Jewish people. Like this is you know, this is going fast, like this is a short time, a couple of years, and years go by really fast, you know, like in life. So now we go to chapter 18. And did you have any question, anybody, on 17? Okay, so when you read, make a little note beside a verse if you have a question about it, and maybe we can answer it. So now read chapter 18. Okay. In Revelation 18:1, after all this is what it says, right? After these things. I'm reading now from Mark Hitchcock. In Revelation, these words generally signal that something new is being introduced. I believe this phrase signals a shift or a change in focus from Babylon's religious aspect in the first half of the 7-year tribulation to its economic, commercial, and political aspect. Now remember when we talked about Babylon, like there's two Babylon, the Babylon of Genesis 10 and 11, what was the name of the world leader? Nimrod. And he had a wife, Semiramis. And they had a son, Tammuz. This is like a mystery religion. Maybe something for you to know, like, it's. I want to write that down because if you don't learn that here in Bible school, probably you'll never learn it anywhere, because it's just, ancient, like history. But it goes like this. There was Nimrod is like a type of the Antichrist, and maybe he really was an Antichrist spirit. And he had a wife, Semiramis. And there's a mystery religious idea that they had a son, Tammuz, who was killed in a hunting accident by a wild boar. He died. This is the legend. He died, and then he was raised from the dead. Okay. So this harlot, this is in Genesis 10 and 11. Fast forward to Revelation 17, we have the harlot who is called, she has on her head, this mystery, mother of Babylon, mystery is that word, mystery. And here, this is also like mystery religion. And it's like it's a demonic story that the devil gave that kind of reflects the reality that the seed of the woman will crush the head of the serpent. And that there really is the seed of the woman, because he becomes, when he's raised from the dead, he becomes a hero. And the gospel is something like this, that God gave a woman the seed, Christ, who would crush the devil and be a hero. And in the parallel in Revelation 17, the harlot, we don't know what she's teaching. I'll put here, what do we call that today in this this modern day, this world that what do we call that? New Age, isn't it? Yeah, New Age religion, is another, what is New Age religion? Actually, it's anything you want except Christ, to be honest. You can be a Buddhist, a Hindu, a Catholic, you can be anything, but it's not Jesus Christ on the cross raised from the dead. That's the point, by the way, of 1 John and 2nd and 3rd John. This kind of maybe all I can teach about those three books in the limited time we have. But 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John are really like the spirit of truth that you have. If you look specifically at 1 John chapter 4, The spirit of truth. Hereby we know the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. If you say that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh, then you are of God. What does that mean? That Jesus came in the flesh. Well, if you say he came in the spirit, or that he was just a spirit or a ghost, or that he didn't die on the cross, somebody else died on the cross, like the Muslims say, Judas Iscariot died on the cross, not Jesus, But if you say the gospel the way the apostles taught it, okay, this is the defense for the faith, then you are different from this mystery religion. You are different. You have the Spirit of God. You have the truth in your spirit and in your heart. That's the distinction. So when we are raptured, the world is left with religion, and the politics and the religion go together until it's not needed anymore. Then the money and the politics take over and hate the harlot. So that shift is like, what we're, kind of fascinated by. Okay, so now commercial Babylon is very rich. The long list of goods and cargo associated with Babylon marks the city. The guilt of Babylon in chapter 18 stems from her sensuality associated with materialism and luxury. When Babylon falls, the kings of the earth, the merchants and the traders of the sea will lament the fall of the nerve center of the world economy. All comes crashing down. Chuck Swindoll describes it this way. As they watch the empire of the beast burn amidst its countless treasures, they will also know that their own time is short. Thinking they have gotten in on an opportunity of a lifetime, those who rest in the lap of Babylon's luxury will suddenly realize that the tables have turned. Like the Nazis in Berlin on the eve of the Allied victory, the reality of the Antichrist defeat will be obvious as their satanic Reich disintegrates before their eyes. So that's what we're reading here in chapter 18. All right. So anybody have anything to say about it? Any question? Any part of any verse there? You want to ask a question? Will it fall? Yes, it will. But the collapse, like we had a stock market crash here in America, 1929, was it, or 28? Was it 29? 29. And I mean, people jumped off the top of buildings in New York City because they had lost everything. And there was a collapse. So when there's an external collapse, and that's your life, then you have an internal, and it's over. It's like, so this is what they're watching, So, we'll now go to, anything more on that? Okay, go to 19 then. Yeah.
It says twice, it says like in her was found the blood of the prophets and of the saints.
Yeah. Okay.
The saints that can't be touched, is that?
There is in Daniel, there is that prophecy that the Antichrist has power over the saints, okay? But who are they? They are not, they are what's called tribulation saints. Okay, because of our timing, this is the way we understand it is that, here's our date is 2020, I know you already know this, but we get raptured sometime. The tribulation period starts. There's the tribulation and the great tribulation. It's 7 years, okay, for the tribulation. Great tribulation is the second half. Now, because we are gone, God marks 144,000 people with some kind of, like, we could say, invisible mark that God knows them that are His. So they are holy, they are precious and special people that are alive in this period. They are described in Revelation chapter 7 and chapter 14. So there's a testimony of holiness, a testimony of commitment and dedication. They're not going to depart from God. And there will be some people believing because of their work and their ministry. So the people that believe are the tribulation saints. Tribulation saints. So this has to be in distinction to the church saints. And then the church was born at the time of the cross, right? So that's when it started. So back here are called Old Testament saints. Like John the Baptist was an Old Testament saint. Moses was an Old Testament saint. So you have three categories there already. You have the Old Testament saints before Jesus came. Then you have Jesus coming and doing His work. And then we have the church. And then when the church is gone, you have this group and whatever number, and they will be, by blood, they will be beheaded, and they will be marked and recognized, and by their cell phones they'll be identified, hunted down like dogs. So they'll be gone. So they will be dying, like in large numbers, if they believe in Jesus. So there's a question, how many tribulation saints will there be? And how much bloodshed will there be? But they will not manage to survive that period. I mean, they will be identified and annihilated, killed. So what was your question again? Which verse was it?
Said, it says it's
18.
I think 18, then it says also in 24 too as well that the saint's blood will be in her. She's eaten or something like that. The blood of the prophets and the saints
Yeah.
in her was found.
And in her was found the blood.
I thought they were untouchable because I thought like
Oh, okay.
God marked them.
Okay.
I believe like the locust couldn't touch them either.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Turn to Daniel because it's a very unique Daniel, kind of a unique verse that it's verse. Daniel chapter 7, 20. Daniel 7:20. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spoke very great things. So there's the Antichrist. Yeah, he does have a powerful voice, and he's more stout than his fellows. I beheld the same made war with the saints and prevailed against them. Verse 21. What do you mean he prevailed against the saints? Yes. Well, how did he prevail? He killed them. He hunted them down by their cell phones. It says that in Hebrew. Yeah, because they had COVID-19. And he knew it. And he found them and he killed them. So he prevailed against them. So this is the nature of the tribulation period, is that the saints are not having public meetings where they are victorious and overcoming the world and overcoming the system. Yeah, they've already overcome it in their hearts. They're victorious in the spirit, but then they will be politically and, well, militarily or by police, they will be killed for the faith. Because it's given to the Antichrist to prevail over them, like to destroy them. And for us, it's like, oh, how can you? No, that isn't true. No, that's not. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. They will be killed because they believe, you know.
I feel like they know their job already in the beginning.
Yes.
You're on Earth for this amount of time.
Yeah.
Your job is to do this, but they
Yeah.
know it ends.
Yeah. Yes, probably. The Holy Spirit will teach them, and they will probably not care, like, in a way. I mean, I don't know. That's it. You know, come on, bring it on. You know, where do you want me to put my head again? Tell me that. You know, what are you doing? You know, I mean, that's it. I mean, you know, that's the nature of it. You know, God's ways, because it's coming fast. It's ending. And it says here that the dragon knows his end is short in Revelation chapter 12. And I don't know if you know what that means, but, you know, when you are doing something and you've got a plan, and by the way, he has all along, through thousands of years, been like following in a way where he's looking for his advantages and fulfill his purpose. But because he's not God, he's not really running things. He is running things only in certain parameters, like an evil man in this world who's running a business or a country. He has only limits, but he's running it to build nuclear weapons, to destroy millions of people, to control his country, like the North Korean dictator, for example. But he wakes up every morning, but he doesn't know what his limits are and how he can use his evil to be destructive or to be mighty and great. So Satan has that going on. But now he realizes that he has a short time. So he's being very aggressive and he's going at it. So we're at the further end here in our history of this period where in sometime here Babylon is fallen, like the capital has been destroyed. We're talking about the vials being poured out, and there's a collapse here, and then this is because Jesus is coming. Jesus is coming, but before. So the collapse happens, and then there is the Battle of Armageddon. Sorry, I don't have the right spelling there. Okay. Yeah.
So wait, is the 18th chapter about like Satan or Antichrist?
Which one is it? What verse?
No, I wonder, like, it's saying, like he was saying, Satan or Antichrist. I sit as queen, and I am not a widow, and I will never ever see mourning or experience grief.
What verse is it?
That's verse 7. B. At the end.
So this is Babylon as the woman, right? She's referred to. I said, a queen am no more widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine. And you have committed fornication to live deliciously with her. So we have it looks like we have two women here. We have the religious woman of 17, and we have the economical woman of 18. So what was your question?
I was wondering who it was. Like, is it
Yeah, who is
Antichrist
it?
or Satan or somebody else? I don't know.
It's the city Babylon, I think.
Okay. Then it-
She's called a woman Babylon, yeah.
is
Verse
that
2.
the great?
Babylon the Great is fallen, verse 2. But it's called, yeah, that's a good question. Babylon, like, um, yeah, that's a good question to think about it. I haven't really thought of it like that, but it's a good question.
Like the common thought about that it's Satan or Antichrist?
Babylon is the city of the Antichrist, and Babylon is also economical system. The city is the economical headquarters. I think, did I already say that? In that day, Babylon will dominate and rule the world. The capital of Antichrist will be Babylon, and he will have the first total dictatorship. The world will be an awful place. In that day, everything will center in Babylon. The stock market will be read from Babylon, not New York. Babylon, instead of Paris, will set the world for style. A play, to be successful, will have to be a success in Babylon, not London. Everything in the city will be in rebellion against Almighty God, and it centers in Antichrist. That's J. Vernon McGee. So here it says two Babylons. Babylon has represented both a city and the religious system that arose in that city. Babylon is a literal geographical location on the river, but it also represents the false religious system that began at the Tower of Babel. Well, for the first time, man organized a religion in rebellion against God. Babylon is the birthplace of worldwide religion. The false religion spread out from there to all the major nations of the earth. Babylon in its final form in Revelation 17 and 18 is a system and a city. The location is clearly the same in both 17 and 18. But they describe two different aspects of the same Babylon, religion and commerce. So the religion is the 17, the harlot, and then the commerce is 18. But then the Antichrist hates the religious, the whore. He hates it, and then that's done. But now the commerce is when that collapses, and the kings of the earth are going to recognize that. So that's an interesting point, The religion and then the commerce is collapsed. Okay, so I think we covered a lot on that. It just raises questions, and it takes, to study it and keep at it. Okay, so we go now to 19. Okay. By the way, we do this class, and then next week we have class, and then I'll have a review for you next week. We'll review the material, and then you have a take-home exam. I didn't know there was an exam. Oh no, not an exam. But it's take-home, so that'll be good. Okay, go to 19. Can you read that chapter for me? Revelation 19, yeah. Has anybody heard of the Battle of Armageddon? Armageddon. Anybody have heard of it before? Huh? What does it mean to you? So it's coming at the end of the tribulation period, you know, when Jesus is returned. Before he returns, before he returns, the Battle of Armageddon is going to take place. And what does it mean? How do you spell it, first of all? Help me. Arm, what? You can't find the word. Arm. Is that how you spell it? Armageddon. This one is A, I think. Is it? Okay, so Har is from the Hebrew. This is mountain. And then Megiddo is a valley. I'll show you where it is on the map. We've got Israel goes like this. This is the Sea of Galilee, Jordan River, Dead Sea, Jerusalem. And in the topography, there's a swath of plain here. It's about 10 miles wide. 10 miles, and I don't know the width. Is it 30 miles? Something like that. This is a travel route from the Middle East. When they would come over, they would walk down this way, and they go this way, crossed, and then they would go down to Egypt this way. So this was a common road. Also, there were roads that would go through the hills of up here and this way. This is where Jesus met Matthew. He was a tax collector, and he was taking tax at the road, a Roman road that went through that way. And he told Matthew to follow him, and he did. So the roads and the valleys and the topography is like part of our study. So mountain of Megiddo is this word Armageddon, and it's where a big battle is going to take place. They are suggesting that the whole area down to Jerusalem on this side is including this whole area. I don't really know specifically, but there'll be a lot of blood, a lot of death. Birds are feeding on the dead bodies. The blood goes up to the horse bridles, literally, or is it figurative? But there's a lot of bloodshed and a lot of people involved, a lot of different armies, a lot of different people that are involved in this last great battle. And you wonder why, but the devil is he's the destroyer, right? So we have the devil, you have world leadership. You don't have real, you have leadership that has destruction in mind, destruction and murder and killing, destruction, murder, control, power, all those words. And I mean, if I put the name Adolf Hitler here, like, there's no surrender, you fight to the end. It's only a destructive mentality. It's like slaughter and destruction. And the target, too, is the Jewish people. The Jews, and, anybody that is contrary to the Antichrist. And they are fighting in Israel because they are against the Jews. It's like the devil's target is the Jews, But they have fled over here to Petra. That's probably the place where they have fled. This is Revelation chapter 12. They run into the wilderness. The devil knows he has a short time. So this is speculation in a way. In principle, not. It's the Bible, but how it's understood as to what is going to happen. So this is what we see in chapter 19 and verse 17. I saw an angel standing in the sun. He cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God, that you may eat the flesh of kings and the flesh of captains, flesh of mighty men, the flesh of horses and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. And I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into the lake of fire, burning with brimstone. And the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh. So this goes along with 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, when Christ comes back and he will basically, end it. Basically, it's ended. But Satan is not cast into the lake of fire in this. Satan is not. But the Antichrist and the false prophet. Why isn't Satan cast into the lake of fire at this time? Well, okay. It goes like this. Here's the 7 years. And what happens? Jesus sets up his kingdom. And it's 1,000 years. But he puts the devil into the bottomless pit because he wants to release him at the end of the 1,000 years. Why does he want to release Satan out of the bottomless pit at the end of the 1,000 years? If he goes into the lake of fire, that's it. He will go there after this 1,000 year, after his rebellion here at the end. But why does God do this? What? Yeah, okay. Let's go to chapter 20. And you could read that. Anybody want to explain verse 3 to me? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what it says that he should deceive the nations no more, right? So he's cast into the bottomless pit. What nations exist? When Jesus returns, he finishes the battle of Armageddon, is dead, cleaned up. Okay, Battle of Armageddon happens at the end of the 7 years. Jesus comes. It's all cleaned up. The world is now worshiping Jesus in Jerusalem. There's a new temple. There Jesus is the glory of God. Covers the earth like the waters cover the sea. So what nations exist during these 1,000 years? Give me the names of some countries. Finland, Brazil, Serbia, okay, Turkey, okay. These countries exist, but the devil will not deceive those countries anymore because he will be in the bottomless pit here. He's in the bottomless pit. Where is the Antichrist and the false prophet? They're in the lake of fire. But the devil is not in the lake of fire yet. He is in the bottomless pit. And there's a key. He is kept there so that he would not deceive the nations. But is he deceiving now? Like we're back here in 2020, right? Is he deceiving Finland, Brazil, Serbia, the United States? Is he deceiving? Yeah, he is. He is deceiving them. So when he is released, what's he going to do? Deceive them. What is he going to do? Lead a rebellion. And he uses these nations mentioned, Gog and Magog. These are ancient words. This is actually a title like a Caesar. Gog is the king of Magog. And this is the key territory that he's going to use to bring deception in the world against Christ. It's his last, and it says a little season, doesn't it? Little season. What's a little season, do you think? How much time will he have to deceive? Now, question. Where do you see him deceiving in the past? But in heaven. And how many angels fell from heaven? A third of the angels fell because he's a deceiver and a liar. So what happened in the past in heaven, then he comes to the Garden of Eden and he deceives Eve. And then, like through history, he's deceiving the nations and he's deceiving people. That's what he does. And today, he's doing it. But he doesn't like us, because if we are humble and we live by the word, God renews our mind, and we're kind of awake and kind of can discern a deception. That's 1 John. The epistle of 1 John is about our ability to discern truth and error. And so we're like more awake than other people. Okay, so God shows us in this time he has authority and power to deceive nations and to bring this destruction on Israel and the world and against the saints. But then instead of dealing with it and ending it, he just puts them in the bottomless pit for 1,000 years. And we live in amazing harmony without war. There's no war. There's not the crime. There's not the same kind of evil in the world. And we live like this for 1,000 years. And then he releases him, and he's going to do it again. And that's like just the last lesson that we learn from this great conflict between truth and an error. There's one more period where God is going to show us. But we won't be deceived because we have glorified bodies. We are operating here. Does anybody seen the Tolkien's, what is it, Chronicles? No, the Lord of the Rings. And there's a wizard in the story. His name is Gandalf, right? And isn't he a good wizard, right? His name is Gandalf, and he has authority and power. And who are the hobbits? Hobbits are like humble people, and they're called halflings, right? They're short, and they have long, big feet. And they're like a humble Christian who has sure footing and is like humble. And Gandalf is more like a high spiritual wisdom, understanding, and authority. He's like in my view, like a saint in the millennium. Like you're in the millennial reign, but if you're like Gandalf, thanks for your going along with me, because this is like a movie. But I think you get the idea. Gandalf appears and disappears, and he has understanding about the ring, and he's able to give the counsel and guidance, And in the millennial, we will be in a city that will be above the earth. I'll just draw it as this cube. You guys know, the city, the New Jerusalem, is like a cube. I read that if you take the earth, if you take the moon the size of the moon, and it's a third of the size, what you see in the moon. So if you have the moon is this size, the city would be a third of the size of the moon. That would be the city, the New Jerusalem, which comes down over the earth for the 1,000 years. Not on the earth, because the city is pure and holy, and sin has been on the earth, and still is here, because we still have a sin nature. We don't have, but the people that survive the tribulation period, they will be reproducing. Remember, Ralph Rowe made an estimate, and this isn't in the scripture, but it's using the scripture, 120 million people may survive the tribulation period. When we start, we know right now we have like 7.4 billion people. So by the end of 7 years, 120 million surviving in the whole world. That's amazing. And they have a sin nature. They will be reproducing children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and so on. They will live longer. And as the population increases, so then they still have a sin nature. He will release Satan out. He will bring deception and a rebellion against Christ. But Christ will put it down quickly. But it will be a little season, but we don't know what does that mean. Is that 30 days? Is it 90 days? Is it, how long is it? We don't know. So that brings us up through to, where are we? Verse, let's see, verse 4. Yeah. Now, I'm tired, I think. Done. I've been talking a long time. Not really tired. I think we covered a lot. I'm exhausted. I'm joking. Does anybody have an intravenous solution, a salt solution? Okay. All right. So what are we going to do now? Finish? We're done. What? I don't know. I mean, we can do more, but I think it's take a break and we're done. Coffee time. Yeah. You're talking? You want to talk a little? Oh, I've got to check with your husband. Has she asked you at home? Okay, go ahead. Sure. Chapter 18. Right. Yes. Uh-huh. I don't know. It could be. It could be. Is it the tribulation saints that are living there? Is it Jewish people? It could be both of them. Was that a trick question? Pastor Roger, I hold you responsible for your wife. Would you please, control her at home? And when you bring her out in public? No, I'm joking. No, it's a good question. Hey, I got another one. I want to have fun a little bit. It's chapter 18, verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, Babylon, the greatest fallen, has become the habitation of devils and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Like, we said recently in our, something about birds, what was it? Angry bird. Are there angry birds? What was that all about? Angry birds. Was that Baltimore Orioles or no? What? Baseball? No. It's a video game. It's a video game. Okay. Angry Birds, yeah. Okay, so why is Babylon a cage for unclean birds? What does that mean? She's become the cage of every unclean bird. First of all, like, I'm just trying to help you read the Bible like the way we learn to read the Bible. So, like, take your time and read it and think about what is it saying. So what is it saying? Babylon is a city, right? Isn't Babylon a city? We said that through the class, okay? So let's draw, this is how I, conceptualize things, okay? So here's a city, Babylon, and it's become a cage, right? So let's draw a cage here. Okay, so it's a cage. Why is it called a cage? Why is a city a cage? And can you think of a city as a cage? And what is a cage, It has birds in it, right? Here's a bird. Why? What is the meaning? It is containing, right? I mean, this is only what I'm, And what are the unclean birds? Are they demons? Doesn't it say demons in the verse? 18, is it 3 or 4? 3. Revelation 18, verse 3. Is it verse 2? Okay, habitation. It's also habitation of devils. Why are the devils attracted and don't leave it? Because if it's a cage, they don't leave it. Right? So, remember when Jesus said that a man has cast demons out of the man and then it's swept clean and the demons go out looking for a place and then it comes back with 7 more demons. And they basically are saying, I found a place. I found a man. I found a place to be. So he comes back with 7 more demons. So Babylon has become like that kind of a place for this evil. And it makes me think that they look for a place, but they can't find it necessarily. So they try to make it a place. And if they find, and the people there, because it's a city, so there's people there that are kind of possessing. They are possessing the demons, This is almost the other way of thinking about demon possession. Demon possession, the other way, is more like that the person doesn't have a choice. The demon controls the person. But in this case, the city is possessing the demons. Like you could make a place for the devil. And maybe that's like the other side of demon possession. Like a witch is a witch, and the demons possess her, but she's actually wanting the demons to be there, and she's a cage for them. She's keeping them, she's keeping them, Huh?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I was thinking of Pastor Marky
Yes.
we had a clean place to meet.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great place, and then when the church moved, what moved into the building after we left was a sign went up, sins of the skin, and it had all of these like demonic stuff painted on it, and then it became a source of like all kinds of blood healing and
Oh.
everything else. And it's just like when the presence of God leaves a place,
Mm-hmm.
demons find a home.
Mm-hmm.
And when the presence of God is there, they're not comfortable, they don't want to be around.
Mm-hmm. You know, when Noah's Ark went out, he released a raven, and the raven didn't come back, right? Yeah, landed on some floating thing and just didn't want to be with Noah. Maybe we could say, didn't want to be there. The demon left to find its own place, with the raven. But the dove came back, and the dove came with a twig, an olive branch, which was a sign of hope, So, okay. So we have next week, which will be Revelation 20, the white throne judgment, the new heaven and new earth, 21, 22. And then we have like review, and then we have 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, which is like 5, 6, 7 chapters, which is like really, wow. So, because I go too slow, I think. Yeah. And because we have had less time.
We missed one class 1 week.
Did we miss 1 week?
We had an extra week of vacation.
Oh, yeah.
After that break, so we had a week off and time to do this. Don't be so hard on yourself.
I'm lapsing into depression. Don't be so hard on yourself. Thank you. Where have you been all my guilty life?
We're overcoming.
Yeah. Okay, good. So to the class, we love you. I miss you guys. Come around sometime. Say hi. And you're welcome here at the church. We're here every day, different ones. And we can meet in small groups and all that. So, and beyond that, we can go for it. Come on. Amen. So that's it. God bless.